Online Marketing, Chapter 5 in the Digital Marketing Strategy book. In Chapter 5, we talk about challenges for digital marketing. So, barriers and challenges. Things like new technology, gaps in skills around new technology, and different regulations that are popping up about privacy, what kind of marketing information that we can store about our customers, how we can collect data, the cookie policies on our website, etc. So first, technology and looking at the kind of barriers or challenges we find with technology. So, not all digital technology relies on employees having a lot of technical skills. Okay? A lot of what we need for digital marketing, we can be purchased rather than building ourselves. And then, um, but it's important that we do have some of the skill sets, especially if we're another one of our barriers is the budget. And we're looking at restrictions to the budget. We might not be able to purchase all the goods and all the services we want to, and we will need to create some for ourselves. Another technological factor is the adoption. So, who adopts technology very quickly and who takes time waiting to adopt technology. So, are you an innovator or a laggard? And what is your comfort level with technology? How risk adverse are you when it comes to new technology? Are you the first person jumping in on the next big thing? Or do you prefer to sit back and wait and until it gets tested and reviewed by other users? Another thing, we may develop or even use technology that isn't in sync with our consumers' expectations or abilities. So we might jump into the hot new technology and find out that our consumers have zero interest in interacting with us on that technology. Their comfort level is happy with the technology they're currently using, and they don't want to move on to new technology. And this can happen in a lot of different ways. Even I've seen over the last year a lot of resistance from users to new web design. So, one company that I frequently purchase from, they lost their web developer, or their website had actually gotten to the point where they could no longer update it. So the technology that had been used to create their website was no longer supported. And they were at the place where they had to completely build a brand new website. The web developer who had originally built their website had moved on and had been maintaining and updating their website just as a favor to them. But that's not the industry they worked in anymore. So then they had the choice of, we can't maintain our old website, that technology is no longer supported. We have to build a new website. So we either have to figure out how to build and manage that ourselves, or we need to go find a new web development company. Well, they decided to purchase a new web development, purchase a contract with a new web development company. So as you can imagine, the new website does not work the same as the old website. Doesn't look the same, doesn't interact with the same, customers don't purchase the same. And a lot of the past information that they stored about customers, that customers actually appreciated that they stored, such as history of orders and stuff like that, um, couldn't be translated into the new website. So there's a lot of frustration from their customers about this new website and the change. And it's not something in the company's control, but it is a frustration that they understand now exists with their customers that didn't exist 6 months ago, and might be a barrier to some of those customers coming to their website and purchasing goods. Okay. Um, Another barrier to adopting new technology for companies is that there's not a lot of information about the historical performance. Some companies want a lot of data to back up a decision. They want you to be able to prove that whatever you're proposing is going to have a return on investment. And with no historical performance, because you're going into a hot new thing, there is no data to back that up and how to support that. So you have to have a plan for what happens if things with that technology go wrong and you need to move in a different way. Okay? So, a lot of the different things that we have to think about when we're working with technology is one, what is even the kind of technology available? The internet today looks a lot different than it did when it was implemented. And when those technologies change, as with the example I gave earlier, certain websites can no longer be supported. And so those they have to adapt to new internet technologies. Cybersecurity. How do we protect our clients' information? How is our information protected by the businesses that we interact with? Do we store information in the cloud? Do we buy a third party service? How do we make sure that things aren't hackable? And develop those secure systems, especially with changing rules and regulations around cybersecurity and the type of data that we're allowed to keep about customers. Customers from the UK, the book talks about new regulations out of Europe and the United Kingdom about how information can be stored and collected on websites. Then we also have mobile and SMS messaging and applications. Which applications do we use? The new applications that are coming out continuously, being able to have a mobile channel, a mobile website, or a mobile app that customers can use, that they can seamlessly use us on their mobile device versus on their website. There's not a change in how they interact with us, and everything has good ease of use. Can they connect to us um, without Wi-Fi, or if they have a lower Wi-Fi, if we're using cellular service versus Wi-Fi? Do we have a lot of really high use internet usage media? Are we only putting videos out, which are difficult for customers that are using through their wireless data when they're not connected to Wi-Fi? And then what are new technologies that might come in the future that we haven't even thought of yet? And what is our strategy to adopt new technologies? Okay. So this is that technology adoption curve. Innovators are looking for the next big thing. They're the first people to buy technology when it hits the market. They don't mind if it's never been tested. They're willing to take that risk. Okay. Then we have the early adopters. They are not quite as fast to purchase as the innovators, but once a few reviews have come in and it seems like this technology is going to stick around, then the early adopters are willing to try it out and get into it. Then we have the early and late majority, where this is kind of where the general public stands for the largest number of people end up. We're not early adopters or innovators. We're really going to wait until it's a tested product, until everyone we talk to is using it. Word of mouth is more important to us from people we know than reading about it in the news or seeing commercials or ads about it. We'd rather hear from actual users that we know. And then laggards. I'm not going to adopt technology until I have to, is generally where the laggards are. They're the last to adopt new technologies, and they usually resist moving to new technologies? What I have is already working. Why would I move to something new? Okay. And then this looking at the technology innovation curve. How do we get um, new technology? How does it kind of get to that acceptance? So first, we have the trigger. So research and development, the company gets funding, innovators are willing to get into it, and then early adopters start using it. Media gets a word that it's using, and now we're getting more into that. People are talking about it, people are using it, people are talking about it, people are sharing about it, and then we drop off. Most people have adopted it, and then we have our slope of alignment. It's been out for long enough that now we've had enough data collected about it that we are creating best practices. We're creating new applications, we're tweaking it so it works better. People are teaching classes about how to use our technology. And then we get into the high growth adoption phase where a majority of our potential audience has adopted the new technology or innovation. Okay. When one of the barriers for technology is that when new technology arrives, we might not have anybody on our staff who is experienced and able to use it. So we have two different methods for tackling our skills gap. We can either train our current employees or we can go out and hire those early adopters who have already required the skills and how to use it. The lowest cost is to train our current employees. Okay? Um, it does slow a company's progress if we have to take time out for training. It takes time for those new skills to be adopted, but it also takes time to hire a new employee. And recruiting and attracting new staff is more expensive than training the staff we currently have. Okay? So training is, of course, the preferred route if we already have a team there. We get the best return on investment from training our already existing employees. Okay? We might also want to do a survey of our employees and find out if some of them have already started developing their skills on their own. Some people are innovators. They read about new things and they start learning about how to use it before their company or their business is willing to use it. So they could have been developing some of those skills on the side and already started developing those. We can, as a company, tap into that desire to learn and use that person to train our other employees. Okay. Of course, another barrier, not just with technology adopting, but with digital marketing in general, is our budget and resources. So the two main resources that this book talks about are time and money. So even if we have the money, we might not have employees that have the time to invest in researching the technology, learning how to use the technology, developing new ad campaigns for that technology. Um, if we have the time, we might not have the money for it. Okay? Um, Getting into new technology can be expensive. We might have to not only invest in the individual technology, but invest in new supplies, new computer equipment. Okay? We might not have time to hire new employees. We might not have time to purchase and install and train everybody on new technology. Okay? But if we do have some of the resources available, then we need to create project management processes. So how do we bring on new things into our company? what kind of system do we use for project management? So this just mentions a couple of project management processes. So Prince2, Agile, Critical Path, Lean, Critical Change project management. Agile is becoming very common as a project management process, but all of these are just different ways to figure out how we implement new projects and how our teams work together, what kind of structure we go through. The tool that they talk about is a Gantt chart, which is a Gantt chart shows all of the elements of project implementation, what the time frame is for that implementation, who is responsible for completing each part of the project, and how they fit together to reach a goal. Gantt charts can be created in different types of software. One this talks about is the Microsoft Project Management software. So this is an example of a Gantt chart where we have a project. We have three team members, Nick, James, and Allie, that are working on the three main tasks. Within each three main tasks, there are a couple of sub-levels that need to be completed. Our prediction of how much time that needs to be completed. And then we might also set up in our Gantt chart if some of those things can be overlapping or if one has to happen before another starts, such as task one sub-level one has to be finished before any part of task two can be completed. So it really depends on the project and on what we're taking over on whether they can be done at the same time or not. Once we have this chart, it can give us a good idea on what the total duration of a project is. Before we move on to the next part, I'm going to switch over to another video so these aren't so long.